talks, negotiations between the government and the BBC as to the cost of the BBC licence fee have started, and Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden saying some interesting things about the future of mainstream media in the UK. I'm going to get into all of this, guys, but as ever, if you could please start by hitting the subscribe button and the bell, click thumbs up if you want to support my work, become a supporter of Real News here on the West Monster channel, hit that join button, become a supporter, would really appreciate it. Now, before we get on to what the Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden has said today, and he said quite a lot, so stay with me, but the Sun reporting, ministers open talks with BBC bosses about future cost of TV licence fee. Do let me know in the comments below. I think I know what the sentiment will be, but do let me know in the comments what you think the BBC licence fee should be. I suspect quite a few of the answers might have a big fat 0, but do let me know in the comments. Television licence fee talks have begun, the Culture Secretary had said. Oliver Dowden has asked the BBC to set out its financial needs, isn't that nice, to help him decide on the cost from April 2022. Oliver Dowden setting out the negotiations have begun over the cost of the TV licence after 2022. Dowden quoted as saying, "Public service broadcasting is woven into the cultural fabric of the UK, but to remain relevant and meet people's needs in the digital age, it must evolve. We are today taking a step forward," he says, "in our roadmap for reform of the BBC and beginning negotiations to agree the cost of a TV licence from 2022 so that it offers fee payers the best value for money." Now, for me, the media landscape, and we've seen it with everything, talk about who the next BBC chairman may be. Lord Moore, at one stage, the front runner. Then it was rumoured to be people like George Osborne and Nicky Morgan, Conservative Remainers. But for me, media in the BBC, it's one of those areas that will really be a barometer on how radical or timid the government under Boris Johnson are planning to be. Because it only takes... It's astonishing to see the feedback on channels like this. When you ask the audience, ordinary people, do you think you should have to pay for the BBC? Do you want BBC services? Do you use BBC services? And I think the debate that happens in this country all too often is between, between journalists and sort of middle class lefties who dominate aspects of the cultural debate in this country, who really can't imagine life without the BBC. But I'm sure many of you, like me, it's basically an irrelevance. You don't really tune into it at all. Hence why you get channels like this on YouTube that are exploding in popularity. And I thank you so much for watching. But before we get into what Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden has said and what his outlook is, let's just look at the guts of this on the Guido Fawkes website. Because, as I said, one of the things is, we've heard the government, we've heard rumours, we're going to decriminalise the licence fee and there's going to be radical reform. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but we're hearing a lot of words and I'm not seeing much action or much change when there badly needs to be. Guido Fawkes, public sector broadcasting negotiating panel not likely to fundamentally change BBC funding model. Guido writes, Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden has announced a 10-strong panel, sounds impressive, doesn't it, to help shape the future of public service broadcasting. The bad news is that none of the appointed industry experts are known opponents of the compulsory licence fee funding model. Now, stop right there. How can that possibly make sense when you've only got to look at the Defund the BBC campaign, which has surged in popularity, to see there is clearly, even if you're a BBC lover, you cannot deny that there is a growing, energetic segment of people who clearly do not want to pay the BBC licence fee. And yet, seemingly on this panel, they aren't represented by anyone who actually wants to scrap the licence fee completely. I could be wrong. I could be mistaken. Let's see. But Guido's saying the bad news is that none of the appointed industry experts are known opponents of the current compulsory licence fee funding model, despite the board's mandate to explore if current funding and governance models are fit for purpose. Guido can't recall any of the appointees ever voicing scepticism about the ridiculous licence fee model continuing in the 21st century. How does that make sense? And that's one of the moves that from the government. I don't understand that. How can you not have someone on there who is a clear, vocal opponent of the licence fee? I continue. Guido, the case for Channel 4 being privatised remains strong, as does the case for BBC Radio moving to an advertiser-funded model. Guido fails to understand what the public service remit of BBC Radio is in this day and age. It seems to duplicate the output of independent radio, just at the expense of people who don't listen to it. Local BBC Radio has also destroyed, he says, the viability of independent media to compete profitably. John O'Connell of the Taxpayers Alliance puts it clearly, saying the BBC must keep costs down to protect households from yet another painful rise in the licence fee. But to guarantee the best value for money, ministers must prepare to bring the BBC's funding model into the 21st century. In the long term, the public service broadcasters can only compete and survive if we axe the TV tax and let the BBC stand on its own 2 feet. The days, Guido says, of a monolithic broadcaster are past. The 21st century is a multi-platform, multi-channel world of choice. Coercive funding has had its day. What part of that, I'd love to, what part of that does the Conservative government disagree with? Are they seriously going to continue with a TV licence fee? Now we head to the Telegraph with a report today. BBC and Channel 4 face profound questions in the digital age as ministers question the future of public broadcasting. A panel of experts, aforementioned in the Guido report, will advise the government on whether the funding model and governance of public service broadcasting is fit for purpose. Public service broadcasters such as the BBC and Channel 4 face profound questions about their role in the digital age, the Culture Secretary has said, as he begins fresh negotiations over the licence fee. I'm writing for the Telegraph, Dowden saying that the panel of broadcasting, journalism and technology leaders will not be tiptoeing around the edges, but rather drilling right down into the current system and how it operates. With the media landscape experiencing an utter transformation in recent years, he has that the rise of Netflix and Amazon Prime has lobbed a grenade into the system and poses serious questions about the roles that all broadcasters have to play in the digital age. And the panel expected to look at whether broadcasters should continue to receive special privileges and prominence on channel menus by virtue of their status. The Daily Telegraph understands that the panel will also be asked to consider whether Channel 4, which is publicly owned but is funded entirely through its commercial activities, should now be privatised. I mean, Channel 4 News, need I say any more? It's unwatchable. Separately, the government launched negotiations to decide how much the TV licence will cost between 2022 and 2027. And in Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden's article entitled "It's Time to Ask Big Questions About the Future of the BBC," there is an interesting segment in here which says it talks about the panel that he's bringing together, and he says the 10-strong panel won't just be tiptoeing around the edges. They will have been tasked with asking really profound questions about the role these broadcasters have to play in the digital age, and indeed whether we need them at all. And that gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Do we need them? Why do we need a BBC that you have to pay for? Will the government now take action in these negotiations to radically reduce or even look at scrapping the licence fee? It seems doubtful, but why? And is this government, is the Conservative government seriously going to keep giving the BBC access to endless amounts of licence fee money? Let me know what you think Boris, Oliver Dowden, the Conservative government should do on this front. Let me know what you make of this negotiation over the BBC licence fee. I'm keen to hear from you. And of course, you can support my work by hitting the thumbs up. Click join below down there to become a supporter. And of course, as ever, thank you very much for watching.